Good morning, Year 7. So today we're going to be looking at some more two-step and some three-step equations to solve. Remember, if you haven't watched the previous videos, watch them first before embarking upon this one. So in our last video, we looked at this equation here, where we had x divided by 2 plus 4 was equal to 18, and we solved it in the following way. We subtracted the 4 because the 4 had no x parts of it at all, which left us with x over 2 is equal to 14, and then we multiplied through by 2, giving us x is equal to 28. But what about this example? We've got something that looks very similar. Here we have x plus 4 divided by 2 is equal to 18. Now, it's important to understand that the x plus 4 needs to be treated as one thing. Okay, this is not the same as x divided by 2 plus 4. We're dividing the whole of x plus 4 by 2. So we can solve this in the following way. If we imagine, by putting brackets around, that the x plus 4 is 1 unit and we divide it by 2, what's our first step in solving this equation? Have a think. Yep, you're right. We're going to multiply by 2 on both sides, which will give us x plus 4, that bit that was in the brackets, the imaginary brackets, is equal to 36. Now we can simply subtract the 4 from both sides, giving us x is equal to 32. So if we put these two equations side by side, you can see that the process is in a different order. This is why it's really important that you show me your workings when you're doing your equations. So look really carefully at your questions when solving equations and make sure that you're treating whatever is tied together with the x as one unit. Here's another example. This time we've got x minus 4 divided by 3 is equal to 7. So again, we need to recognize that we are dividing the whole of x minus 4 by 3. I'm going to remind myself of this by putting it in brackets to show that we're dealing with that as one unit. We could even give it a different variable name if we wanted to. So we have x minus 4 divided by 3 is equal to 7. So the first step that we're going to take is multiplying through by 3 on both sides, which will give us x minus 4 is equal to 21. Then we simply add 4 to both sides. Remember, we're doing the inverse operation each time, which will give us 25. So if we were to compare that equation with one that looks very similar, where we have x over 3 minus 4 is equal to 7, in this instance, we would be adding the 4 first to leave us with the x over 3 is equal to 11. And then we're going to be multiplying by 3, which will give us 33. Okay, so it's really important that we recognize whether we are dividing through the entire part of the equation or just one small section of it. So what happens if we have an equation to solve that involves brackets? How about we look at this one? We have 2 brackets 3x plus 6 is equal to 18. Now the first thing we need to do when solving equations involving brackets is multiply out our brackets first. Remember, BIDMAS, brackets, indices, division, multiplication, addition, subtraction. So brackets is the first thing that we do. Okay, so I'm going to use my grid method to multiply out my brackets. I have 2 lots of 3x plus 6. If I've got 2 lots of 3x, that will give me 6x. And if I've got 2 lots of 6, that will give me 12. So I'm left with an equation which is 6x plus 12 is equal to 18. Now I can solve my equation in the usual way. The first thing I'm going to do here is look at the part which doesn't involve the x and subtract the 12 from both sides. That will leave me with 6x is equal to 6, and then I need to divide through by 6, which will give me x is equal to 1. Here are some questions for you to have a go at. There does seem to be an awful lot of them, but it's really important that you try some from each section. Okay, the most important ones are question 4, those at the top. I would like you to complete all of those and then do a few of question 3, or as many as you possibly can. Now remember, I want to see your working. It's really, really key that you set out in your books or on the paper the equation solving in exactly the way I've shown you. So pause the video, have a go, and then you can move on to get the answers. And here are the answers. Make sure you self-mark, preferably in a different coloured pen, and have a great day. Any questions? Give me a shout.